It emerged from the morning mist like a ghost ship from another realm, a vessel that defied the very laws of naval architecture. The silhouette growing larger against the horizon represented mankind's most terrifying marriage of firepower and speed. For 3 long months, this phantom had stalked the Atlantic, leaving only empty ocean where Allied ships once sailed. No distress calls completed, no survivors spotted, just vanishing vessels and growing fear. What force could possibly challenge such a predator? What wisdom could overcome such overwhelming firepower? The confrontation that unfolded off Uruguay's coast in December 1939 would reveal something far deeper than military strategy. It would unveil the invisible threads of destiny, honor, and sacrifice that guide human existence through our darkest hours. Today we journey into the forgotten waters of the South Atlantic, where 3 outgunned British cruisers face the mighty German pocket battleship Graf Spee, in a dance of fate so profound that its spiritual echoes continue to resonate across time. This is not merely a tale of war. It is a revelation of the eternal principles that govern victory, defeat, and the courage to recognize when surrender becomes the ultimate act of honor. Throughout human history, warriors have faced the eternal dilemma between duty and conscience, between following orders and honoring deeper principles. The ancient Sanskrit texts speak of dharma, righteous duty, and how this sacred obligation sometimes leads us into impossible choices. The Graf Spee represented humanity's technological arrogance embodied in steel. Launched by Germany despite restrictions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles, this vessel was deliberately engineered around legal loopholes, a manifestation of how humans often seek to circumvent restrictions rather than honor their spirit. Displacement 12,000 tons. Armament 6 11-inch guns, 8.5, 9-inch secondary guns, torpedo tubes, and reconnaissance aircraft, all wrapped in battleship armor yet maintaining cruiser speed, a combination deemed impossible by naval experts. The Graf Spee was, in essence, an illusion made real, what Eastern philosophers would call Maya, the belief that clever manipulation of material reality can somehow shield us from universal consequences. By September 1939, as Europe plunged again into darkness, Captain Hans Langsdorff, a decorated 43-year-old officer, guided his 100 men into the South Atlantic with explicit orders: cut off trade, stay forever out of reach, and grind the Royal Navy into exhaustion. What followed was a campaign of surgical precision, as ship after ship vanished beneath the waves. Yet tellingly, Langsdorff ordered his men to ensure the safety of enemy crews, a merciful approach that would later prove significant. The first rays of dawn on December 13, 1939, revealed the impossible. Through the morning haze, lookouts aboard the British cruiser Ajax spotted smoke on the horizon. Commodore Henry Harwood had positioned his 3 vessels, heavy cruiser Exeter and light cruisers Ajax and Achilles, exactly where his intuition told him the phantom ship would appear. This was not mere military calculation. While 40 British warships scoured the vast Atlantic searching fruitlessly, Harwood had tapped into something deeper, that mysterious intuitive knowledge that transcends rational thought. The message flashed between ships. I think it is a pocket battleship. The moment of truth had arrived. Harwood faced an impossible choice that would test the boundaries of courage and wisdom. His heavy cruiser Exeter carried 8-inch guns that would need dangerously close range to be effective. His light cruisers Ajax and Achilles mounted only 6-inch weapons, woefully inadequate against Graf Spee's massive 11-inch artillery that could strike from miles beyond their reach. One commander was about to make a catastrophic mistake. Across the water, Captain Langsdorff assessed his situation with growing concern. His ship had been at sea for months. The engines were tired, the crew was exhausted, and now 3 enemy cruisers approached rapidly. Though his guns outranged them all, he faced his own impossible dilemma. There were no friendly ports nearby, no safe harbor for repairs. If Graf Spee suffered severe damage, the only path home was nearly 10,000 miles through waters swarming with Allied patrols. Yet he could not retreat without engaging. At 6:14 in the morning, the once silent ocean erupted as Graf Spee's massive guns fired the first salvos, turning peaceful waters into a thunderous battlefield. Harwood split his force brilliantly, Exeter attacking from one direction, Ajax and Achilles from another, forcing Graf Spee to divide her attention. The uneven battle quickly turned brutal. Within moments, Exeter's bridge was destroyed by direct hits, her communication system devastated. Her captain, Frederick Bell, face streaming with blood from shrapnel wounds, continued directing the fight as commands passed down the ship by human chain, officers shouting orders to one another through smoke and fire. What appeared to be an inevitable German victory concealed a profound twist of fate. Unknown to the British officers watching their ships absorb punishment, a single 8-inch shell had torn through Graf Spee's fuel system, contaminating her reserves. This critical wound, invisible from outside, meant the seemingly unstoppable Predator now had merely 16 hours of operational capability left. With Exeter severely damaged and withdrawing under smoke cover, the light cruisers Ajax and Achilles pressed their attack with astonishing boldness, closing distance to bring their smaller guns into effective range. Their shells began finding their mark, forcing Graf Spee to divert attention from the crippled Exeter. When the battle temporarily paused, observers aboard the British ships believed they had failed. Graf Spee appeared barely scratched, still firing with precision. Captain Parry of Achilles later confessed, "When the action was broken off, my own feelings were that the enemy could do anything he wanted to." But inside Graf Spee's steel hull, Captain Langsdorff faced the crushing weight of reality. His ship was mortally wounded in ways invisible from outside. The fuel contamination made reaching German waters impossible. With more British warships surely converging, he made the fateful decision to seek temporary refuge in Montevideo, Uruguay, neutral territory where international law would grant him only limited time for repairs. Campaign of deception, not with guns but with psychology and misinformation. British intelligence flooded Montevideo with rumors of massive reinforcements just over the horizon. Local radio stations broadcast constant updates about approaching battleships and aircraft carriers. British merchant ships departed harbor one by one, each departure resetting the legal clock that prevented Graf Spee from sailing until 24 hours after the last enemy vessel had left. The truth? Outside territorial waters patrolled only the same 2 damaged light cruisers, low on ammunition and barely holding together. Yet the illusion of overwhelming force became more powerful than reality itself. Langsdorff, trapped between diplomatic pressure, legal restrictions, and the specter of encircling enemy forces, faced the most profound decision of his career. The confrontation between Graf Spee and the British cruisers offers profound teachings that transcend their historical moment. First, trust your deepest intuition when conventional wisdom fails. Commodore Harwood positioned his ships based on an inner knowing that defied probability. In your life, practice stilling the constant chatter of logical thought to access the deeper wisdom that resides within. Daily meditation creates space for this intuitive voice to emerge. Second, recognize that apparent strength often conceals hidden vulnerability. Graf Spee's overwhelming firepower masked critical weaknesses that ultimately proved decisive. In your personal journey, examine your perceived strengths carefully. Do they conceal fragility beneath? True resilience comes from acknowledging vulnerability rather than denying it. Third, understand the profound power of perception over reality. The British did not defeat Graf Spee with superior firepower. They conquered through creating a perception of overwhelming force. In your daily challenges, ask yourself, are the limitations I perceive actually real or merely constructed? How might changing my perception transform my apparent obstacles into opportunities? Fourth, recognize when persistence against impossible odds becomes destructive rather than courageous. Captain Langsdorff ultimately chose to scuttle his ship rather than sacrifice his crew in what he believed would be a hopeless battle. This reflects the ancient wisdom that sometimes the greatest victory comes through strategic surrender, letting go of what cannot be won to preserve what truly matters. Finally, honor transcends conventional expectations. Langsdorff's decision to take his own life after ensuring his crew's safety reflected his personal code of honor. While such extreme measures belong to a different era, the principle remains. What is your personal code of honor? Are you living in alignment with your deepest values, even when they conflict with external expectations? The mystery deepened on Sunday morning, December 17, 1939. Observers lining Montevideo's waterfront watched in stunned silence as Graf Spee moved slowly toward open water. Was Langsdorff attempting an escape? Was he challenging the supposed British fleet to battle? The answer came with shocking finality. A series of massive explosions tore through the mighty vessel as preset charges detonated throughout her hull. Flames erupted along her decks as the once proud raider settled into the shallow waters of the River Plate. Captain Langsdorff had made his choice. He would destroy his own ship rather than surrender it or lead his men into slaughter. But the final act of this drama was yet to unfold. After ensuring his crew was safely delivered to Argentine authorities, Langsdorff retired to a hotel room in Buenos Aires. There, dressed in full uniform and lying upon a German naval flag, he wrote his last words. For a captain with a sense of honor, it goes without saying that his personal fate cannot be separated from that of his ship. Then, he ended his life. Winston Churchill celebrated the outcome as a vital early victory for the Allies. Adolf Hitler complained bitterly that Langsdorff should have sunk the Exeter regardless of cost. Two worldviews in stark opposition, revealing fundamentally different conceptions of honor and purpose. The sunken Graf Spee remains entombed in the muddy waters off Uruguay, a silent testament to the eternal truth that attempts to circumvent universal laws inevitably fail. The pocket battleship, designed to exploit loopholes and defy conventions, ultimately could not escape the consequences of its own existence. As you navigate your own battles today, remember the hidden wisdom of this forgotten confrontation. Sometimes victory comes not from overwhelming force, but from understanding when to advance and when to withdraw. Sometimes honor demands surrender rather than destruction. And sometimes what appears as defeat may contain within it the seeds of your greatest triumph. Winston Churchill celebrated the outcome as a vital early victory for the Allies. Adolf Hitler complained bitterly that Langsdorff should have sunk the Exeter regardless of cost. Two worldviews in stark opposition, revealing fundamentally different conceptions of honor and purpose. The sunken Graf Spee remains entombed in the muddy waters off Uruguay, a silent testament to the eternal truth that attempts to circumvent universal laws inevitably fail. The pocket battleship, designed to exploit loopholes and defy conventions, ultimately could not escape the consequences of its own existence. As you navigate your own battles today, remember the hidden wisdom of this forgotten confrontation. Sometimes victory comes not from overwhelming force, but from understanding when to advance and when to withdraw. Sometimes honor demands surrender rather than destruction. And sometimes what appears as defeat may contain within it the seeds of your greatest triumph. What battle are you fighting now that might require not greater force, but deeper wisdom? What perceived defeat might actually be your path to ultimate victory? The answer lies waiting, like a phantom ship on the horizon, ready to emerge when you have eyes to see it.